That's all I got. I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Ralston now. He's a great speaker, has a lot of great information, so it's all set for him.
Thank you, Bob. Good evening. Normally I'm a mover, but they said I need both those mics, so I'm going to try this tonight, but I'm usually all over the place and getting into what I'm talking about because I'm pretty passionate about it. But as I said, my name is Chris Ralston. I'm a deputy with the Manatee County Sheriff's Office. I've been there for 29 years now as a deputy. 25 of that was spent in patrol. I was born and raised here in Manatee County, so my 25 years working the road was all the areas that I kind of knew and grew up in and watched change and evolve over time. The last 3.5 years, I've been fortunate enough to be over in Crime Prevention Unit, which this is basically what we do. And when I got offered that position from the sheriff, who was here, I think it was last week we were here. I was accompanying him here last week for the big meeting. It was a blessing. It was an absolute blessing. But when I took on that role, I was that guy that responded to every call you could possibly imagine. If you could think it up or make a movie out of it or anything in the world, I've probably done it, seen it in that amount of time. But my main goal was, what can I come in and do to lessen the workload for all those other patrol guys that are still out there answering all those calls for service, those 911 calls, taking all those reports. And that's my driving force. What can I do? How much can I get out and try to have some kind of an impact? So what I'm going to do is talk to you tonight about a bunch of different stuff. I never have a prepared presentation unless I'm teaching a specific topic. In my mind, it's boring, and I'm going to touch on a whole lot more stuff that something may touch each and every one of you in a different way, and help you in the different situations that you might find yourself in. I'll definitely take questions at the end and try to answer everything that I can for you guys. But our nemesis, and if you've ever been in my talks, you've heard kind of the same thing, because it hasn't changed. It doesn't change. And what I'm here to do is try to drive home some key points and some facts to maybe get you to think outside the box a little different or react or respond to something a little bit different. Our number one problem in Manatee County, and the sheriff alluded to it the other night if you were here, is vehicle burglaries. It's our number one problem. It has been for years, and it still continues to be. Unfortunately, it's unlocked vehicle burglaries. It's not a lot of smash and grab stuff. It's not happening. These bad guys are out every single night in various different neighborhoods throughout Manatee County and throughout all the other counties that surround us, and probably the United States and the country as well. But here in Manatee County, our number one problem is unlocked vehicle burglaries. Here's the thing, completely avoidable. It's completely avoidable, but it's only avoidable with your help, because you're the vehicle owners that are getting broke into, that are being left unlocked or with valuables in them. And not specifically when I talk tonight, it's you, I'm not pointing fingers, but in general, this is where it lies. And we all have family, we all have friends, we can share this information with those people as well. So I had to do a study and for the county for a project, and these numbers are 2 years old, but in 2019, so I guess it would have been 2019, 2020, the sheriff's office responded to 1,380 unlocked vehicle burglaries in that calendar year. Each one of those burglaries took 87 work hours to handle. Whether there was anything stolen or there was laptops and guns, it didn't matter. 87 hours on average went into each and every single one of those calls, with a grand total to the taxpayers of Manatee County of $1.7 million that year on something that was completely avoidable. And what you have to understand is the amount of time that it takes up and the resources that it takes up because someone left their car unlocked. So whether it's a couple dollars that was left in the change holder, or let's hope not, maybe it was a firearm, maybe it was a laptop or a bag or a purse, anything like that, regardless of what it is, our sheriff wants them investigated the exact same way, because if we get prints off of one that we may not have got off the other, the bad guys are the same bad guys. He just got lucky in one car that found good items, and then it was the same guy that broke into the same car in the same neighborhood and didn't find anything. So we investigate them all the same, with the end goal of trying to catch the bad guy or the perpetrator that committed those crimes. So when you come out in the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning and you find that your car was broke into, or your bike was, this applies to everything, or your bike was stolen, or your golf cart was stolen, or something like that, your first call is to 911, hopefully. That should be who you're calling, not anyone from your safety council or safety team or management of the park or anyone else. Your first call should be to us to come and start that investigation before anything's touched, molested, or messed up or rummaged through. Let us be the ones to come and do that, because there's physical evidence usually left behind. Could be DNA, touch DNA, blood, could be fingerprints, could be anything. But when you call 911, that's the first person you have contact with. And you may talk with them for 30 seconds to a minute, and they're going to transfer you to the sheriff's office dispatcher, who's then going to send it to a patrol deputy, and they're going to get that call on their computer and over the radio, and they're going to drive here from wherever they are. When they get here, they're going to start their investigation. But what we know is, in a neighborhood, whether it's Gulf Lake Estates or anywhere else, the bad guy doesn't just break into one car. They go down a street or several streets pulling handles. So typically that deputy that arrives, all of a sudden people start waking up or coming out or leaving for work, or the dispatch starts getting more calls that there's another one 2 doors down. So now that deputy, who would typically, we would love to be proactive and patrolling and waving to people and preventing the bad guy from being in here, is now tied up taking those reports. And typically it happens on a midnight shift, and the day shift guy that's signing on when the sun's coming up is the guy that now gets to go deal with it and take those reports. So each report on average takes that deputy about 2 hours. So just do the math. In a 12-hour shift, if there was 5 cars broke into, he's missing lunch and he's going nowhere but wherever it was that those burglaries occurred. So he's been removed from proactive patrol for the rest of his shift, and he's going to work on those reports. Crime scene may come, a community service officer to fingerprint, and then when they're doing that, when he's done, they have to go to his supervisor that then approves them. When that supervisor's done approving them, it goes to records, and records clerks have to put that data in the computer, and then it goes to a detective supervisor. That detective supervisor then determines who he's going to assign it to, and that detective gets that report and then starts working on it. Was there ring cameras nearby? Was there video? What kind of evidence do we collect? So the work that goes into something, and that's, if it went prosecuted, the numbers went to $12 million to the taxpayer. If we caught the bad guys, those same 1,380, if we caught them and prosecuted them in Manatee County Court using judges, juries, bailiffs, booking clerks, clerks of the court, that number went from $1.7 million to $12 million, completely avoidable, or that we could spend on more things, better things, or be more proactive in your neighborhood, driving around much more rather than being tied up on this stuff. So that's all I'm going to say on that, but it's super, super important. Spread the word, share the word, put up signs. Every night I have a routine. So no matter what time it is, if I fall asleep on the couch or if I'm watching football and it's late or whatever the case is, my routine is I get up and I go out to my driveway and I pull on my work car's handles, which I already know I locked, but I pull on the handles. I pull on my son's truck's handle. I pull on my other vehicle's handle, and I check them. Because one time I had an actuator go bad in a door, and probably for 6 months, I don't know how long, I would hit the button, the lights would flash, the horn would honk, and I would assume my car was locked. But that actuator wasn't locking a back door out of 4 doors on a particular vehicle. So that vehicle was always unlocked. Now, I don't keep things of value in it, but we all, what you have to do is think, what am I displaying to the bad guys that are roaming around out there at night? Your gated community is great, but I also want to tell you that that creates a false sense of security. Bad guys will get in here. They will come in, they will follow another car, they will walk in, they will jump a fence. Where there's a will, there's a way. Everything I'm going to tell you tonight, and keep me on track with time, is not to scare you or to worry you or to stress you. It's to make you aware that it's going to happen regardless if the deputy's driving through here or not. We can minimize it, right? We can have loss mitigation, and we can minimize the effects of those things, but we can't ever stop crime completely, because we cannot control a criminal's desire or ability to commit crime. Whatever crime it is that they're into, whatever it is they do, if they have the desire and ability to do it, they're going to do it. The only thing we can try to do is remove the opportunity from them for carrying out that act or that crime, and that's what we try to do. So keep that in mind. With that being said, neighborhood watch. I know that we have the safety team or safety committee, but there's not an organized neighborhood watch per se with block captains and patrol schedules and things like that, correct? Nothing's changed? I'm here to tell you that's great. And some people may be stumped by that. That's fantastic that you don't have one. It's okay if you did, that's great, but you don't need one. And here's what I'm telling you, every single one of you in here and every single person watching at home, you are your neighborhood watch. You all live in here, I don't. I know what goes on in my neighborhood. I know whose dog belongs where and who walks their dog and whose kids ride their bike and what car belongs in what driveway, because I've lived there for 20 years, and which neighbors belong where and who I've never seen before. Those are things I know in my neighborhood. And the same things go for you all in your neighborhood. So it's very important to understand you are the best resource, every single one of you, for neighborhood watch without having to be an organized neighborhood watch and attend meetings and worry about who's patrolling when. Because here's what I can tell you. Even if you guys were night owls and stayed out till 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and decided to call it a night and drive home, the bad guy comes out at 2:30. So they're watching, they know, they keep an eye out for what's going on as well. So there is no 24-hour around-the-clock patrolling that's going on, but my system there is. Right here, if you see something, say something, call 911, that's it. We don't want to change your habits. We don't want to change your behaviors. When you're going to church, to or from church, or you're coming home from dinner, or you've been up here at the clubhouse, or you're going out to get your mail, or whatever it is that you're doing, you're golfing or riding around on your golf cart, all we want you all to do is just have some situational awareness and pay more attention to what's going on around you. That's it. Just be more cognizant of what's going on around you. And when something doesn't seem right, so you know that person or that vehicle, just something's not, you're all grown adults, all right? This isn't rocket science. You're wise. You're wise in your years, okay? So if it doesn't seem right, all we want you to do is pick up the phone and call 911. Let us come figure it out. I had to do a talk this morning at a mobile home park where the first thing they're doing is telling the manager the next day or bringing it up to their president at the next coffee, and they're not calling 911. That does no one any good whatsoever. There is no manager or president or anyone that we want to go encounter someone and find out who they are or what they're doing, and it's not a 24-hour service. We're a free 24-hour service at your disposal that you all pay for. And I make the joke, and it's not really a joke, but there are probably men, because I fall in the same category, in this room that would probably lay on this floor and die before they dialed 911 or had someone dial 911 because they don't want to bother the ambulance driver or the fire department or the police department, right? You feel like you're bothering somebody. You're not bothering us. That's how we close out crimes and catch bad guys, is through neighborhood people like yourselves, the residents, the citizens, extra eyes and ears reporting suspicious activity to us. That's absolutely paramount to having a safe community. We're here to work with you and for you, and please don't be reluctant or afraid. We may get here and you never recognize the person, and we make contact with them and come to find out it's someone's family member, relative, grandchild that's visiting from up north. It's spring break coming, and typically there would be baseball and things like that. You know the influx of people that brings when spring training is going on. You're not going to know everybody, but we're going to figure out real quick if they belong or they don't belong. They're going to be able to answer a couple questions and verify that, and we're going to shake hands and go our separate ways, and you're not involved at all, but we got the tip from you. So that's crucial, absolutely crucial to creating a safer neighborhood. Now, when it comes to home security, there's very simple things that are absolutely paramount, and the first one is lighting. The lighting is absolutely probably the least expensive item that you can update or upgrade your home and your neighborhood with because of LED technology now and the cost of it. Used to be super expensive for one bulb, $20 a bulb plus. I mean, going way up. Now you get the same bulb for a couple bucks, few bucks. But changing out lights and trying to have the brighter lights outside and really making it glow around here at night. I know that the dimmer lights create, a nice ambiance through the park, but what's it doing? You're not helping the situation by brightening everything up and making it more visible and visual. You know, when we go to bed, what do we care how bright it is outside our houses? People have blinds, they have drapes, and you close your eyes at night. So it really shouldn't make a difference. You want it to be like daytime at nighttime outside your homes. And each person can do that very inexpensively with the changing of some light bulbs, the purchasing of some dusk to dawn lighting, if you want that, so you don't have to worry about turning it on, turning it off, or motion lights. Now with solar power, you know, you can go get 2 very bright LED solar powered lights for $20 for 2, and put them up, and you're done. It's powered off the sun. It's not costing you a dime other than the initial expense. Excuse me. Cameras, Ring cameras. Any brand of camera. It doesn't have to be Ring. I have Ring on my house. The sheriff's office doesn't endorse or sell or any particular brand. What I can tell you is Arlo, Nest, Ring, Blink. Those are some of the bigger names that are out there. But there's lots of name brands out there that you can find it from everything from Walmart to Amazon to Sam's Club or Costco. Do your homework. Find out what you like or what fits. They're really, really, really easy to install. And if you need help, I promise you someone in here has already put them up or knows how to do it. How many people in here have a smartphone? The whole room's probably going to go up, most of it, right? That smartphone is the device that eliminated your neighborhood watch for the most part, right? When that technology came along, and it's only 20 years old, that eliminated the need for, back when I started, and I'm dating myself now, 29 years ago, Bayshore Gardens Neighborhood Watch installed CB radios into our patrol cars because that was the quickest, only way to get a hold of one another. There wasn't cell phones. We didn't even have pagers at the time. So fast forward, everyone here has a smartphone. Your smartphone takes pictures, ultra 4K pictures, you know, 15 megapixel, the standard now, 12 or 15, 4K video. It has the ability to pinpoint GPS your spot location, and it has the ability to dial 911 for you to communicate with a dispatcher or someone. You have the power of everything right in your hand. It's incredible. You just have to use it. And you don't have to be a super techie kind of person to understand that. It's 911, and then tell them what you see or tell them what you know. So that's really, really important to understand that. You know, that changed the game as far as that goes with those coming out. So, and everybody's got one. So whether you're 5 or you're 95, you can see something and say something, and that's all we want you to do. So outdoor lighting, cameras. I got a bottle of water right here. I just probably need to use it. Excuse me, thank you. So outdoor lighting, cameras, and then communicating with your neighbors as well. And then figuring out a way to secure what you have. We already talked about your cars. Make sure you're removing the keys out of your golf carts. Very important. If you're a seasonal resident, you're leaving 6 months out of the year or whatever, some people put them up on blocks, but also either put a hidden kill switch in there or disconnect a couple terminal leads so that even if the bad guy did come or try to get it, you know, that those ignitions on a golf cart can be easily defeated with kind of virtually almost a screwdriver or any key, certain ones. So you want to disable that cart. And that's really important as well. And even keep it covered or whatever. Let your neighbor know so that, again, they're on the lookout for it. Your bicycles. Bicycles is a huge thing. They get stolen all the time. We have a barn full of bicycles that we don't know who the owners belong to. I brought some information I'll talk about in a minute on a program that helps with that. But if you're going to leave your bikes in your carports, figure out a way to secure them. They're not good just chained together. If you can put them in your shed and lock it, great. Don't put the chain or the lock through your front tire because if you have quick releases, they just take the whole frame and leave the front tire still chained up. What we've always recommended in the past is find somebody that's handy enough or that has a good, probably a corded drill with a big masonry bit that can put a big eye bolt in your carport driveway somewhere that it's not gonna be a tripping hazard when the bikes aren't hooked to it. You don't wanna stub your toe or trip over something like that, but put a big eye bolt, a heavy duty one that bolt cutters won't cut for one, the bolt itself, and then get yourself a really good reinforced bike cable or bike chain that will fit through that eye bolt and then through the frame of your bicycle. And try to keep them locked up that way. You know, the bike program that we have is called there's 2 programs that we offer, and I'll jump into it now since I'm already talking about the bikes, but it's the BAT program and the CAT program. The BAT program is the Bicycle Anti-Theft Program. Basically, what it does is you fill out an information card with your name, contact information, and then the full description of the bicycle. And then we give you a metallic decal that goes on your bike in a certain spot with its own serial number. And then we keep that card on file, and you keep one in yours if it was to get stolen. And you can show that to us, and then if we ever run across the bike with that number on it, we know who it belongs to and can get it back. Because a lot of times bikes are they're used for a joyride or until a better bike is found. So we find bikes all the time because they'll ride it as far as they can until the chain falls off or a tire goes flat or they find a better bike that they like better and they ditch yours and take the new one. So many times we recover those stolen bicycles. But again, I'm going to tell you, we have that program, and it's free. Everything we offer, there's no charge for. The other one is the CAP program, which this one's pretty neat, and I do recommend this one. And I have the forms for it over here. What normally we do is, if you're interested in the program, take a form. I'll set up a date with Ari or somebody else, and come back in a few weeks just for the collection of those applications and the issuance of the decals for your cars. But you put a decal, a reflective decal, in your rear window, and by signing the paperwork, you've given any deputy sheriff in Manatee County the authority to stop your vehicle if they see it going down the road, strictly between the hours of 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. So if the car is seen with a decal, the CAP program decal in the back window between the hours of 1 a.m. and 5 a.m., then you've said, I've signed the paperwork for you to stop and find out who's driving my car. It could be relatives that are from out of town, and they're coming back from the Hard Rock or a game or out somewhere. It could be you going and getting a prescription. It could be you. But if you're seasonal or even if you're not, all we're going to do is inquire as to who's driving the car, and if it's not you, then we're going to be calling you and waking you up. If we can't wake you up, we'll be sending a deputy by your house to bang on your door until you answer it to find out who we have stopped in your car, and do we need to arrest them or do you know them? So it's kind of a great program as far as that goes to deter auto thefts in Manatee County. But back to the bike thing and any other valuable piece of property that you may have, what they used to do back in the day was tell you to take an engraving machine and put your driver's license number or whatever it was on anything expensive that you have. And that way, if it was ever stolen, they could run the driver's license number and get it back to the rightful owner. Well, same thing with bikes. Not many people write their serial numbers down for their bike. But if you take that smartphone that we talked about and you take a couple pictures of your bike or anything else that you value and you flip it over, or you just reverse the camera and stick it underneath the pedals and find that serial number and take a picture of that, that's all you need to do. If that bike's ever stolen, you have everything we need. You have full color pictures of it saved on your phone and the serial number to be able to give us. So it's a simple, easy, cheap way to just take some photos. Guys with your guns, even ladies with your guns, lay them out on a black bedspread or something with a neutral background color. Take a couple pictures of your entire inventory. Take pictures of the serial numbers. Anything of value like that you're worried about, if you had to report it to us, providing us with the most amount of information, taking a few pictures on your smartphone is the greatest, easiest way to document that and to do that. So we encourage that for sure. There's a lot of things that go on from distraction, especially in parks like this. We want you to be aware of. There's lots of frauds and scams, and there's a lot of crimes that occur. One of them is distractionary burglaries, and typically what that is, that's a tree trimming guy or somebody doing a service, and they're going door to door or whatever, and they want to talk to you. Typically, they love the single ladies at home, and they will be very forceful until you kind of comply with them. And that's the things we need to know about. But what they'll do is they'll try to get you outside your home to look at the trees or whatever, and their partner is in the front seat of the truck that they're driving or whatever it is that they're in. And as soon as you turn the corner, he goes in the door you just came out. And I can tell you right now, just from my experience and just doing this for as long as I have, most people keep the most valuable things in their master bedroom or master bathroom. Bad guys don't want to steal your flat screen TV and walk down the road with that. That's too obvious. They see that. They're standing out. Bad guys like to steal guns, money, jewelry, and prescription medication. And typically that's in the master bedroom or the master bathroom. I can go in either one of those two rooms and find the guns in the nightstand, the money somewhere, the jewelry in the ladies' top dresser drawer under some undergarments, The good stuff, the costume stuff sitting on top, the heirloom stuff or whatever may have been passed on is maybe in a velvet bag or something, and it's under a few items in the top drawer. And then the prescription medications, usually on the nightstand or it's in the master bathroom. So it's not hard to figure out where to go to get the stuff that people have hidden. We highly recommend safes, a good safe. These little flat boxes, lock boxes that are fireproof lock boxes, they're great for a document, but all they're going to do is take the whole thing and then pop it open later. I could take a flathead screwdriver and with one good hit on the lock itself, pop it wide open. So if you're going to have a safe, either screw it to the floor or screw it to studs in the wall. Make sure it's heavy enough that people can't just carry it out. And put your titles to your vehicles, your expensive jewelry. If you don't use a safety deposit box at a bank or something like that, then it's good to have a good reinforced safe to put those things in. And they're also, most of them now are fireproof for at least an hour up to a certain degree. So even in the event, and let's hope not, of a fire, your items are protected. So, it's like, when's the last time there was and it happens, but when's the last time there was a fire in here where a structure burnt completely to the ground? Years. But how many people in here have a fire extinguisher at home? Right? Why? When's the last time there was a fire that something burnt to the ground? But it's the what if. It's the just in case. And that's all I'm here to talk to you about is what if. Odds are you'll go your whole life and you'll never be a victim of a violent crime, a physical violent crime, which is great. But we've got to take precautions so that doesn't happen. Ladies, when you're shopping with your purses, if you don't need to take it with you, don't take it with you, right? If you're shopping and you're going in the grocery store, put it in the top. If you have to have it, make sure it's zip closed, and then use the baby strap to the baby seat. Wrap it around your purse and then buckle it and pull it tight. That keeps a bad guy from taking it and running off with it or just reaching in and taking the wallet. You're not going to know it's gone until you go to check out and realize that it's missing. So when it comes to the way that most of you are going to be victims is through identity theft and fraud. Those are going to be the biggest ones. Your scams, the IRS scams, the grandparent scams. Anybody ever heard of either one of those or the grandparent scam where they call you up in a panic and make you believe that something's wrong and they need money right away? Take your time. I tell everyone, the way you're scammed from a bad guy, from a scammer, is you have to communicate with them for this to take place. So you're either communicating via text, you're communicating via email, or you're communicating through voice and you're speaking with them. If you quit answering every number that shows up or every time your phone rings, you will eliminate a ton of potential scammers getting a hold of you. See, they can only gather the information if you make a mistake on your end. So I really recommend knowing what you're clicking on in your text messages or when you're answering the phone, unknown numbers or the caller IDs. Just because the area code may be from where you're from back home doesn't mean it's someone you know calling. They have your information. They've obtained that on the dark web for most of us. Our information is out there in cyberspace for the bad guys to get a hold of. And so they already know your area code back home. And they use little tactics like that to get you to answer the phone. And so if you don't answer the phone, let it go to voicemail, screen the voicemail, and then determine if it's worth a phone call back or not. You'll be much better off that way. Just because you get an email from anything that you do business with, whether it be the VA, Medicare, anything like that, your home doctor's office, anything that looks real with the logos and all that, don't buy into it and just assume that it is. Don't click on anything. It's very easy for me to log on to any website I want, copy and paste a photo onto something else, make my own document in an email, and send it out to people. When they are asking you to click on to update information, that's a scam. Your bank's not sending you that to update anything. Understand that, so don't fall for it. If you ever get a voicemail and it leaves a phone number for you to return the call, but it seems legit, maybe it's the VA, like I said, or your doctor, or your pharmacy at Publix, or wherever it is that you do business, don't call the number back that they left you in the voicemail, or one that they texted you with, saying, please return our call at this number. That is probably a scam, and that's gonna go to the bad guy. But so when your phone number rings, they're looking at a caller ID, and they know that it's Mr. or Mrs. Smith. So they answer the phone appropriately. They know that they called you pretending to be such and such. So they answer the phone appropriately, and the entire interaction seems completely believable. And it's not. They're trying to get to your money or trying to scam your money. When it comes to any purchase you all decide to make, no matter what it is, online shopping, gas, groceries, paying bills, we recommend that you find a credit card that suits your lifestyle, whether it's good cashback rewards or frequent flyer miles or hotel stays, something to do with travel, whatever suits your lifestyle. Find a card you're comfortable with and use that credit card for everything and pay it off every month. There's gonna be no interest on that if you pay it off monthly, but you're protecting yourself tremendously and your bank accounts from identity theft, especially at gas pumps and things like that where there could be a skimming device put in there to obtain your information. So many times people will link their savings account to their checking account for overdraft protection. So if a bad guy does compromise your checking account because you used your debit card somewhere, then potentially they could not only wipe out what's in your checking account, but they could potentially wipe out your life savings as well. So it's something really important to think about. So when you're getting these emails and you're getting these text messages, on my phone tonight, I could play you probably a half a dozen in the last 2 hours of phone calls that came in, and they're just, every one of them's a scam. Every one of them I listened to was a scam, and they're telling me, and 3 of them were vehicle warranties, right? I mean, go figure. Like, how many people fall for this? Guess what? A lot. There's enough people that fall for it that it makes it worthwhile for them to have continued this scam on for as long as they have. This is a dialing for dollars game for these people. Most of them aren't in this country. If they are in this country, they're in another state. They're using VoIP, which is Voice over Internet Protocol software, or they're doing number spoofing. And there's boxes that they can program through a computer to make whatever number they're calling you from look like any other number they want it to be. We had this for 2 months going on where they were calling people from the sheriff's office main line, but it was the bad guys, and they were pretending like a captain and saying that you had warrants for your arrest and you owed money for traffic tickets, and they were asking for money, and that happened right here in Manatee County. They went so far to duplicate our entire website by copying and pasting photos, and ours is manateesheriff.com, and they bought the domain manatee-sheriff.net or whatever it was, and they were sending it out everywhere, getting people to go on and put in gift card information to pay for tickets that they never even got. So it happens. The longer somebody can talk to you, the more believable they'll start to sound, and the more you're going to fall for it. So just be very cautious. I don't want anyone to be rude. You're not rude people, but know when to say enough is enough and either hang up or not take the call at all. Very, very important. There is texting and driving. It's not so much you all, but the latest laws are on a card over there for texting and driving. It is against the law to text and drive in Florida. It's against the law to even have your phone in your hand in a school zone during the school zone, school operating hours. So be aware of that. You can't even have it in your hand. Even if it's off, it's against the law. So be very careful and read up on that. That's over there. The CAP brochure is over there, which explains the CAP program. The cards for the bicycle is over there. The application for the CAP program is over there. So if you're interested in that, take them now. Fill them out at home at your leisure, because you're going to need to know your vehicle VIN number and the tag number and some other pertinent information you probably don't have with you tonight unless you drove and it's in your glove box. Get this filled out. I'll coordinate with the safety guys. We'll set up another date where I'll come up here for an hour one evening and just process them. It takes about 2 minutes when you show up with it all already filled out. I can have your information to you and you're out the door in less than 2 minutes if we do it that way. So we'll definitely do that. There's a great brochure over there, which I encourage everyone to take, which comes from Law Publications, and they print them just for us. But in here is everything you need to know about everything we talked about and 10 times more. What you need to know to secure your credit cards, your bank accounts, how to keep your home safe, your vehicle safe, outdoor lighting, cameras, computers and networks, you name it, it's over there. Ransomware, spyware, it's in here. I love this book, but this book does nothing. If you're going to take it, great. I encourage you, please take it. Try to take one per household if you can, so there's enough for those that weren't able to be here tonight. If they want to come up and get one, it'll be here. But it does nothing if you don't take the time to read through it and implement what you feel is important to you. So I strongly encourage you to read it, but also take a little action on it. Make some changes, some little things that you could change. You know, in crime prevention, there's a term called CPTED. and that's crime prevention through environmental design. And really what it has to do with is traffic calming, speed tables, speed humps, the flow of traffic, pedestrian traffic, walkways, things like that. But one of the big things that they say is we want the lowest branch on a tree to be 6 foot or higher, and we want bushes to be 2 feet or less. Now, typically you can get away with 3 feet, but 2 feet or less, and what you're trying to do is create natural surveillance. So you're taking away ambush points or dark spots at night for bad guys to duck behind a tree or whatever. Or so the lowest limbs, if they're up high enough, when you're in your home and you're looking out your kitchen window as you're doing dishes, or you're looking out your front living room window, you have a great field of view and can see people moving about and things happening. So what it does is just make everything safer and this place is great about it. Your landscaping's awesome throughout. But if maybe at your particular home there's some things that are kind of near a door or overgrown, those are known as ambush points. And all we're trying to do is give you suggestions to do what's known as target harden your own home. What you're trying to do is make your home completely undesirable for a bad guy so that they skip yours and go to your next door neighbors to break in. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make yours super, super safe and send them to your next door neighbor's house. But hopefully your next door neighbor's sitting in here tonight, or they're watching at home, and they're going to do those same tips, and their house is going to have good lighting and maybe a camera, and the bad guy's not even going to want to come in Gulf Lake Estates if that's the case. So you're not so much worried or need to worry about what's going on here, but when you go out shopping and you're at Publix or Target or wherever else, just be aware of what's going on around you, and don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call 911. So okay, I will definitely pass the word along. We used to get calls for that too. There's canines running through the backyard. What's going on? You know, here's what I can tell you. This came up this morning as well. And a lady was like, I stepped outside and there was 6 cop cars flying down the road and I had no idea what was going on and I needed to know what was going on. And I said, ma'am, not to be rude, but it means you don't need to know what's going on. We know what's going on and we're dealing with it. That's all you need to know, that we're dealing with the problem. If we need you, we will certainly come to you. If you're in harm's way, we will certainly alert the public that they're in harm's way. Our guys are busy. They're doing their thing. Last year, as the sheriff said the other night, I think it was 395,000 calls for service. And if you do the math, I was thinking about this when he said it. If you do the math, I think we're almost 500,000 people in Manatee County now, population-wise. And that's everyone from the oldest adult to young children, but I think our population is about 500,000 people. So that's almost 1 call per person. So our numbers as our agency hasn't grown tremendously exponential to keep up with the exponential growth that's occurring in Manatee County. So again, right back to my beginning statements of why we need you all and your eyes and ears. Do the math on that. We would be an unstoppable force, all of us working together, the good citizens of Manatee County, if you're reporting to us. We can be anywhere we need to be quick if we need to be there. So that's either the helicopter, dogs on the ground, deputies responding. We'll use any resource we need to handle the problem as quick and as professionally as we can, but we can't handle it if we don't know about it. So in order for us to know about it, we rely on the tips that come in real time. So if someone's in here, and this came up this morning as well, and I'll get to more questions, the only people that can ask someone to leave from Gulf Lake Estates, regardless of how your lots are set up or if you're a partial owner or anything like that, the only person that can ask someone to leave in Gulf Lake Estates or people would be park management and typically your board. So your board of directors and your actual park management and your park maintenance. They're employees of Gulf Lake Estates. So an employee of Gulf Lake Estates can ask someone who doesn't belong to leave the complex entirely, and if they don't, they're technically trespassing. You as residents can ask anyone you want to leave from your piece of property, where you live and your property boundary, and that is it. Not the pool, not the shuffleboard courts, not any of that stuff. Now, we will come and address if there's a problem or someone that doesn't belong, but to take that next step, that lawful action, and issue them a formal trespass warning, we would need a board of director, someone from management, or someone from park maintenance, because they're employees with authority over the entire complex. Does that make sense? So just keep that in mind if you ever need to get somebody out of here. You know, somebody that's wandering through or, trying to sell something. That's another thing, talking about selling stuff. Roofs, in mobile homes, windows in mobile homes, decorated driveways or staining or paint or engraving or numbers at the bottom. Those are all big things. Anyone that comes through door to door looking for that stuff, just like I said about that distractionary burglary before, when they try to get you out to look at things, don't fall for it. You all have been around long enough to know who you're going to do business with and who you're not, and rely on word of mouth, friends and family or your neighbors in here that have had good luck with a good roofing company or had a beautiful job done on their driveway. You don't need some random person showing up to your door trying to sell you that product. Go with somebody reputable or someone that you know completed that job, and that's going to eliminate a lot of scams as well that occur inside our communities. All our communities, residential communities, where people go around trying to door-to-door sell. Even though there's no soliciting in Gulf Lake Estates, that's not a state law or even a local ordinance. That is a HOA or a deed or a bylaw for Gulf Lake Estates, so it's not enforceable by us. But when somebody's in here, we'll certainly come and check them out and then ask them to leave. So just something to keep in mind. Any other questions? Anything come up? Got one more? Yes, ma'am. Life program up at our correctional facility. We have a life program up there where it rehabilitates inmates into job skills.
No, this is if something were to happen and for example, I was home alone and I were to pass away and you were brought into the home, there's a notification in my refrigerator.
Yep.
Who to contact, or let's say I was
Mm-hmm.
still alive, but I could never do not resuscitate.
Mm-hmm.
Do you look for those?
Yes, ma'am. Typically, it used to be a vial that would go in the freezer or refrigerator, and then they changed it to almost like a plastic, magnetic, just a sleeve that would magnet on an old refrigerator. Nothing magnetizes on a new one anymore, but yes. Typically, they're red, too. It's a red bottle or the red plastic sleeve as well. Yep, and when we did the health fairs, if you all remember, which have been canceled because of COVID for some time, but typically the health fairs that would get set up, Manatee County EMS would always be at those in every one of our mobile home parks to give as many out as they needed to that day of. But we haven't had a health fair in quite a while. So I did a drug drop for Mount Vernon not too long ago. Just so you guys are aware, every one of our districts has a huge like a night deposit box, steel box for prescription medication. We take any pills, whether it be pet pills, vitamins, prescription medication. If you just take all your bottles, you know, maybe someone passed away or you had an animal pass away or whatever the case is, people have medication they want to get rid of. Instead of flushing it down the toilet and letting it go in the waterway or throwing it in the garbage and having it buried in our landfills, if you just pour everything, you can mix it all. And even if you all wanted to combine your own into one big 1 gallon Ziploc bags, just pour them all in there. You keep your bottles, you scratch your names off of them and discard them or keep them for the screws and nails and stuff that some guys do in their shed. But pour all the pills in those, and I'll either collect them the day that we do the cat and the bat, or you can go to any one of our districts, 57th Avenue, the main operations center, walk right in the door, open it, put it in, close it, and you're done. There's no report. We don't need to know who you are, anything like that. So typically find a representative and have them contact me, because you don't want to get caught with prescription medication that doesn't belong to you, right? But typically the head of someone, when we know that you're doing an event to collect, or I'm here to collect it for you, it's never an issue. I'll do that anytime if you just call me. Once you've collected everyone's in an event, I can't go door to door doing it, but if you want to host an event up here where people can pour them in, I'll be glad to come pick it all up. Anything else? I think I covered quite a bit of it, but if you think of something, let me know. So, all right, thank you, buddy, appreciate it. Oh, I have one more thing, as always. So we are having a heck of a time right now in Manatee County with crossing guards. Due to a lot of them not returning from up north, due to COVID, due to a lot of different circumstances, we are super short on crossing guards. So every morning, myself and about 10 other deputies that aren't deputies answering calls, we're in other departments within the agency, go and we're crossing guards in the morning. So I do a elementary school and then I drive to a middle school and do that. But right now the way it works is our crossing guards only work mornings and afternoon shifts. So you have to have an AM and a PM. And I believe that if more people could pick either morning or afternoon, that we would get a lot more people interested, because you're not necessarily doing it for the money. I think it's $14 an hour, $13.86 an hour now, and that's probably going to go up a little bit, but it's just extra spending money. But there's a simple little survey. If you have time tonight, you don't put any of your information on it. There's 3 questions. And I did this in one other place, and all they did was circle the yes or no. But there's one above it if you circle AM or PM or both, and then there's a question on the pay, yes or no, and if that's not good for you, what would you consider good? It's just a quick little survey so we can gather some data to find out where we need to make changes and improvements to try to get more crossing guards for our kids in the morning. So if you have time tonight, take a second, fill it out, and leave it over there for me. I would really appreciate it. So with that, I am now done, I promise. Thank you all.
Do not park there